why pay somebody this where I could do it for AI for a fraction of the price? And if you've noticed that, and what sort of things have you heard or are you seeing that people are doing to kind of protect themselves there? I know that we had recently, like, this is not only just in voice acting, this is like AI is like, yeah.
It's everything. There are definitely companies that are trying to, and we're kind of hoping this is the way it's going to go, is that it'll end up being licenses, and then you'll be able to license my voice for different things. And then like every time you use it, I make a little bit of money.
Welcome everybody. Welcome back to another Podcasting Around Nerdy with that nerd ADC and Brandon 2K. And you might be seeing a familiar face pop up right now. Gavin Hammon. What's going on, my man?
Oh, not a lot. I'm just hanging out and sitting in my studio of plastic and talking to you guys. What's up with you? Happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday. No, we were talking a little bit prior to hitting record here about how this is kind of going a little bit full circle. So if you guys go way big down in our archives to video number 1 on this channel, you're going to see that same face that's between us right now and one Gavin Hammon.
Maybe the same shirt.
It might be. And we thought, we've been working on this for a bit, and we thought, we'd love to have Gavin back, and Gavin answered the call. So we are going to be talking about everything going on in Gavin's world. And trust me, there's some really cool things going on in Gavin's world. So without further ado, let's nerd out, guys. Okay, so I wanted to start the conversation because one of the biggest things in the video game space that's on the internet right now that I see that kind of blowing up my Twitter and blowing up my socials is Wolf Among Us 2 talks. And I know that, Gavin, that you were in the first one, right?
Yep, I was.
As Tweedledee and Tweedledum, as well as Beast.
Yep. And I think I was the Magic Mirror too. I don't know. They just kept throwing crap at me.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about what you remember about that project and what some good memories you have about that, and how was that experience? Was that did The Wolf Among Us come before or after The Walking Dead?
That's a great question. So we had recorded all of the first episode of season 1 of The Walking Dead, just the first episode, because that's the way Telltale worked. For better or for worse, they would kind of like finish an episode at a time and then work on the next episode. So it was never like a full finished product. In some cases, that wasn't even fully realized or written. So we would be kind of like tweaking as we went. And so basically what happened is we had almost completed either the first episode or 3 episodes of Wolf. We had done a whole bunch of stuff on Wolf with a different cast. I was still Tweedledee and Dum in the first one, different Bigby, different storyline almost. Some of the elements were the same. And what happened was The Walking Dead dropped. The first episode came out and was like a huge sort of massive hit. And they kind of freaked out and were like, so everything with Wolf kind of was put on hold until we had worked through more of The Walking Dead. And we may have even finished the first season of The Walking Dead before we went back. And I think we did, because like there was a bunch of new casting on it. They recast Bigby. I was almost Bigby. And they basically kind of went through a bunch of sort of initial processes with Adam Harrington as Bigby, like recording, all the sort of very test scene kind of stuff where they weren't where he would text us from like the booth and be like, I've done like 4 lines today. Yeah, that's my Adam Harrington. I've done like 4 lines today. Yeah. And then, so it was crazy, but then they managed to put that all together into something amazing for Wolf. And I'm excited for the second one. I don't know anything about it, but even if I did, I couldn't say anything.
Yeah,
I might be telling the truth when I don't know anything about it. But I don't know when it's coming out. I hope it comes out. It's been a while, I think, at this point.
Now, can you tell us if there's been any work done on it? Just a general...
I can say with pretty good authority that, there's definitely work happening on it, or work has happened on it.
Has happened, okay. Gotcha.
I don't have any like, there's nothing I could say as to like any sort of personal experience, but there's definitely has been casting docs. Okay. We've seen stuff come through. I know there's a code name for it, and it's similar to another code name, which is silly and weird. But yeah, no, I know that it's definitely something that's been in production, but where it is in the pipeline and in the timeline, I have no.
That's kind of what we've seen online. It's been kind of it's kind of been there's people arguing in the comments like, oh, there's no way it's getting work done, stuff like that. So it's good to confirm that there's actually been work being done on it. So that was kind of where I was trying to go around that NDA.
Yeah, there's not to say that there's anything happening right now. I know we've seen things on our end, I assume, just based on what I thought and this is all sort of totally extrapolated from what I think the project. Truth be told, like, nothing has ever been confirmed to me what I think the code name for the project is and what the casting docs for that particular code name are. Like, I feel like I look at these casting docs and I'm like, I have a pretty good idea what this is, because I know who we're talking about, and I kind of fill in some of the blanks, but no one has told me anything. So nothing is explicit. I have to be clear about that.
Oh, sure. One thing I will bring up that I don't think necessarily will go under an NDA, just overall view.
I'll be in touch with that.
Yeah, you will.
So, like,
the king of NDAs.
I'm a huge Wolf Among Us fan, as well as the Walking Dead games as well. And so I want to kind of like, how was each of those experiences? Because it sounds like they're both kind of having simultaneously, right? Almost.
They were for a bit, yeah. And then one after the other.
Yeah, so Kenny versus, like, say, like, both done by Telltale, but I'm assuming radically different vibes and feel of the project. How was The Wolf Among Us versus your Walking Dead experience?
Well, it's funny because, yeah, for sure the vibes were different. A lot of the vibe, though, was like in the visual style, in the music, the kind of, Jared Emerson Johnson, who's just a total genius, like his music, very John Carpenter-esque, kind of 80s sci-fi, which I adored. So a lot of the vibe of the game, for me anyway, really came from that. And one thing about Telltale, especially at the time, working for Bay Area Sound and, Studio Jory, was just the process was so similar. So it was like, I'm in the same room, I'm probably looking at the same mic, Jory's on the other side of the window. So I'm getting all the same fantastic direction from Julian and Dennis Lenart, because a lot of people cross-pollinated on the project, same directors and same writers, so we were like, especially working with a lot of the same people. And it was a similar idea where, because everything is kind of multi-path in terms of like your dialogue choices and stuff like that, they all had a real similar feel to them. It was just like, I was playing a different character. I was maybe, not screaming and yelling as much, or I was maybe cooler, or I was maybe British, something else. Honestly, really, all the Telltale stuff really felt similar to me, just because of the true vibe of like being in the studio and working with Julian and Jory and, all of those fantastic people.
Now, with the music choices and everything, how much of the visual aspect of the games were you able to get before you put your voice on tape? Zero. So you had you were looking at a wall doing all of this.
Yeah, usually looking at a wall, maybe there was a sketch or, like artist sort of visualization of like what the characters look like, but nothing like the color palette, nothing like what the music design would be, or some of the, like the sort of noirish, lighting that they would use, the framing or anything like that. Almost none. You'd get like, here's the character, here's your audition and what it sounded like, and then they might explain kind of the scene, and you might, get an idea that it kind of feels sort of pulpy and noirish, with some of the dialogue or some of the situations. So you'd be, kind of play it that way, a little more real, a little more sort of higher stakes in certain circumstances, which was similar to The Walking Dead. It wasn't like it was like a totally different thing. But yeah, no, we got none of that visual style, like how those things were different.
Which that just makes it more impressive to me. That like you're able to pull that out literally from thin air.
That's the job. Honest to God, it's like that's what we do every day. We don't necessarily know what things are going to look like, so we have to add so much of our own sort of either experience or ideas or like,
talent.
You have to add, kind of what we bring to it in order to get the words off the page, which
Absolutely.
I mean, to me is the fun part of the job. It's a drag when it's pretty straightforward and all you do is like do your movement lines or something like this. These were scenes that you could really kind of like act into,
Now, I know you mentioned
nice thing about.
I know you mentioned you were almost Bixby, which that's crazy to think about. So I'd like to imagine that.
That probably was a mistake.
But I'm assuming like voice over actors are the same as just any other actor, where sometimes roles are created for you, or like you don't necessarily audition for a role, but you're given a role. It sounds like I'm on uncharted territory here, maybe. But if I am, you can stop me. But no, what I'm getting at is, did you audition for Tweedledee and Tweedledum? And
I have like, in terms of my, especially with Telltale, the only time I've ever been offered a role by Telltale, and we get offered roles all the time, either because we worked on other things. Some people don't really audition anymore. Like if you're, maybe, but if you're Troy, if you're Laura, if you're Travis, if you're Matt, if you're Nolan.
Here's a role, here's a role.
Don't probably read a whole lot of stuff. You probably get offered more things than you read for, but there's still things that'll be auditions where like they just don't know that you could do a thing, or you want to show them you can do a thing. Yeah, the only time Telltale ever offered me a role was when kind of shortly after one of those decisions that maybe I didn't mention, that might have just sort of slipped out. One of those decisions might have been made, and like it was kind of like, yeah, no, you're so and so. It's fine. You're here, and it's fine.
This is fine.
Where there were decisions that were made that were particular, and they were decisions that were often made that weren't one thing or another. It wasn't necessarily like this is the right choice, or this is the right voice, or this is like the wrong voice, or this is like, there were like availability questions, there were kind of like timing questions, there were like how studio wanted to work, how the studio kind of wanted to explore, how the studio was sort of like feeling after this sort of growth and sort of explosion of this other IP, that came out. So it was a lot of uncharted water. Yeah, but no, more often than not, 9 times out of 10 for me in Telltale, it's like I'm auditioning, and usually it's like multiple rounds of casting for the same thing. Many, many callbacks.
Uh-huh.
I can say like I did read for Bigby and probably had 12 callbacks on that particular job.
Oh, dang.
Which was a lot.
Yeah, it's a ton.
Yeah,
that's crazy. And aside,
Kenny was only one. I read Kenny once, and that was it.
Done.
And then I never heard anything else about. So they called me.
I could definitely see that. I mean, you were made for Kenny. You like made that role your own. Like Kenny was great.
It was. I thank you. I just pitched him Southern and tried to, it was very kind of where I was in my life was really similar to kind of not with the zombies.
It's like I totally relate to Kenny.
Yeah, I had a kid about that age, so it was kind of like, and I had nieces that were young, so it was kind of like I could see kind of getting into this, father figure kind of role being available, and Southern accent, piece of cake, and it's kind of fun to just sort of riff and yell and hoot and holler. So yeah, I guess it was well suited for it.
So when Brandon 2K can attest to this, that I am a researcher. When I go into interviews, I research. I like to find something and be like, are you like in my room listening to my conversations? Because how did you know that?
Not a scientist.
But when I was doing that,
what you got?
Like, when I was doing that and searching, you want to know the very first thing that pops up when you put in Gavin Hammon into Google search?
Maybe like the ice bucket thing I did with the Legos. I don't know. Some dumb shit. I don't know.
It's actually who is the voice of Agent 47. A lot of people think you voice Hitman. And I know you don't. I know you don't. But that's a very
I worked on a bunch of Hitman. For sure. I worked on a bunch of Hitman. I was a bunch of thugs. That was a great gig.
That's funny.
But people think you're Agent 47, Gavin.
There's a giant conspiracy behind it. There's a whole Reddit train. It's so funny. There's people comparing voice tracks and like, it's him. It's definitely him. I'm like, it makes me laugh because
to, like, just sort of go in and like squash all of that because that's I get a kick out of sort of ruining those things. But
I'll drop you the Reddits. I'll drop you the subreddit so you can do it.
It's a thing. Trust me, it's a thing. It's a thing. So you may want to clear that up. That's something.
It's sad that that's the Googled thing about me too, because that just says like I have not done a goddamn thing.
You've done plenty. You've done Furby, man. Come on.
No, he is cutting himself short because his claim to fame will and always be Riley Flash. Will always be Riley Flash.
Yeah, I guess so. Riley Flash. People. The thing that was so fun about Riley Flash, and that was from WWE.
It was,
2K or something.
19.
Like the thing that was so funny about him was that he had all these like voicemails that we got to record of him like calling people, and they were amazing. That was super fun for me because we would just have these, and I would just kind of get to riff. And I think I had to wear the big head rig, and that was also at like on site at 2K, which is in Northern California, from where I live, which was pretty cool to get to just sort of drive that way and not have to be in LA to record like Hitman. But yeah, no, he was just really kind of a fun, weird character. I don't remember anything about him. I just remember getting to record a lot of like really dumb infomercial type of voicemail-y kind of things.
And actually, I played the game.
Like,
right?
Parody television and parody, like phone, telemarketing kind of stuff on TV. I grew up in the 70s and 80s, so for me, that's like a wealth of material.
I played the game prior to this because I just wanted to like remind myself of it. And I could tell you were having so much fun with it. Like looking back now that I've had a conversation with you, because like you're like selling random stuff, and like it was so fun.
Yeah,
that's so cool.
It's fun to get to do those things in games because we don't often. Usually, like when we're in games, it's really serious and everything is like kind of precious. Games have gotten to a more sort of sophisticated place where we get to have humorous moments and things like that, and we get to sort of parody ourselves. Got to do a bunch of that on Far Cry. I think 3 or 4, I don't remember which one, but like just got to do a bunch of kind of interesting DLC stuff like that was just goofy. And that was mainly just having a great relationship, with AJ Abiad, one of the guys that works at, Ubi. And it was just really kind of cool to get to do fun stuff, because so often games are just boring and dumb and it's the same kind of tough guy, machismo stuff. But
I mean, like Rosewater?
No, I don't know. I mean, Rosewater, I think it's funny too. I don't remember a whole lot of like what we recorded though. I was just concerned that it was like, it's me doing a Southern accent and everybody's going to say, oh, that's just Kenny, that's white. So I was trying to like at least make it different enough because, it's the same voice print. It's like I put on a Southern accent. It's like, unless I get really change my texture and my pitch and stuff, it's like, you're never not going to hear that. I can't help it.
What really saddened me is the most recent WWE game, WWE 2K25. The story mode is all about blast from the past sort of thing. And they brought back characters from previous games. And I was waiting for you to pop up. And you never did.
It's all your fault.
So
hey man, they've been renewing me in NBA 2K for like 5 or 6 years, just renewing the atmospheric sounds that we made. So it's totally within the realm of possibility that they could reuse Riley if they wanted to. I don't think that's necessarily on there.
No, I guarantee they didn't use half of what he recorded.
So my question there is that if WWE 2K ever gave you a call, did you have a fun experience enough with that you would do a WWE game again? Return as Riley Flash another character?
Yeah, I mean, as a voice actor, it's like we can't, and like there's very like few circumstances, well, more and more these days, but there's not a lot of circumstances where we're going to turn down work. You know what I mean? It's kind of like you're always going to take it. These days, there's a lot of things where like, especially commercial voiceover, there's like a ton of AI in commercial voiceover now. You hear it all the time. There's all sorts of really terrible commercial rates. I had a client, really good friend, been working with them for probably 18, 20 years. And it's like, they sent this thing and they're all, hey, this is kind of a double-edged sword because we have this client, that has like, they're making 50 videos for their products and it's like a bunch of different SKUs and price points. They were going to use AI, but they're willing to like, to read people on it, but they only have a budget of like, $5,000,
and a Happy Meal.
They want to make 50 spots for $100 a piece, and then it's just kind of like, Yeah, I mean, that's so cool of them that they don't want to just use AI, but it's like the race to the bottom, of what like any sort of commercial or video or anything should be worth based on just agreed upon, rates in the industry. It's crazy. And that kind of stuff is just happening more and more and more, unfortunately. And that's anything for like, UK or any sort of creative, interactive kind of stuff, as long as they're willing to give us AI protections and not like, dump our voice into a model and then make a model of it and never hire us again. I unfortunately model really, really well for AI stuff. So when I do that, they don't need a lot of material from me. So yeah, I'm pretty wary about those kind of, ambiguous sort of castings where they're like, oh, they won't give us AI protections, so it's kind of like, why won't they? It always just makes me kind of feel like because they plan to just use it. So yeah,
absolutely. And that was a kind of a side, and you kind of answered it, but that was a side place I was going to go with a little bit too, was like what you're feeling what that is, because that is a big trend now. That is kind of where it seems like it's going is, AI. Why pay somebody this where I could do it for AI for a fraction of the price? And if you've noticed that, and what sort of things have you heard or are you seeing that people are doing to kind of protect themselves there?
You have been deemed hazardous. Will you comply? You can kiss my ass, man.
I know that we had recently, like, and this is not only just in voice acting, this is like AI is like, yeah.
It's everything.
Yeah. So,
well, I mean, there's so much I can't say about AI for a variety of reasons, but there are definitely companies that are trying to, and we're kind of hoping this is the way it's going to go, is that it'll end up being licenses and that you'll be able to license my voice for different things. And then like every time you use it, I make a little bit of money.
This is business.
You know what I mean? And it's kind of, that's the goal. That's the hope, because that seems fair. It's like, sure, if I'm able to like give you something that you can use to create new things, there should be like, there should be consent. Like, I don't necessarily want you to use my voice for things that I would lend my voice to. I would appreciate knowing all of the sort of times that it's used and kind of how it's used and where. So we would like reporting. And we would just like to be compensated, when it's used in something new, because I can guarantee those companies, those corporations, they are charging for these things. They are making money off of it. So it's like, we would also like to just be paid rather than scrape, I guess. So that, there's that, but there's a wonderful company that I'm a part of called Ethovox that my dear friend Sissy Jones and my dear friend Julian Kwasniewski from Bay Area Sound, who is the guy that recorded so much of the Telltale stuff or directed so much of the Telltale stuff. They have a company called Ethovox that is just exactly one of those where we license our voices for projects. The rates are very, very good, if you're going to use AI voice for scratch, but then you would pay a fee when you would, like a session fee, when you would go into production. There's a lot of sort of, details and nitty gritty and stuff in there. But, that's what we hope is the way forward. Because if there's no intellectual property and everything is just free and stolen, then it's like, guess what? No one will create anything anymore. And it's like, I don't know, I hear AI commercials on TV, my kids point them out to me too. And it's just like, it sounds like crap. It doesn't have any sort of human warmth to it. It's like, if you want to sell a product on the television, it's like, you just want like a super weird flat voice that doesn't even sort of inflect with where we are in the script. It just doesn't make any sense to me. But we'll see what happens. Everything is kind of up in the air, as y'all have maybe noticed the past.
The licensing sounds like the right way to do it, because especially with people like you who can create an AI model, because there's a lot of people whose voices don't work that way. And when you get the AI model and you get a solid AI model, it's going to make you more marketable for that. But but owning licenses, just like with Taylor Swift, just buying all her masters and stuff like that. It's a matter of owning the song. You got to be able to own your voice. So I really hope it works that way, and I hope it's soon.
I do too. I mean, it's somewhat, I don't know. I think because interactive voice actors, we're still on strike in the union, for things that haven't signed to an interim agreement that offers AI protections. I feel like we're kind of closer, but nothing's really happened for the last couple of weeks. There's a lot of movement in the last month and a half, and then it's kind of slowed down while this last best offer is considered. So I don't know. we'll see kind of how it goes. I'm nervous. I'm going to plug my laptop in. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just going to move over here for a second. Hi,
Gotcha.
I'm still here.
And if you didn't know, when I hid in town, Gavin says he could throw his voice. So.
Isn't that neat? Yeah.
So, but one of the things you're doing to kind of keep yourself busy is you're in a band.
No. Can I say it one time for the one time?
You may.
He got the band back together.
We're putting the band back together.
He got the band.
I was barely involved in getting it. Yeah, so I was in another life in the before times, back in the go-go 90s. When I was 17 years old, I joined a band that my brother played guitar in called Dance Hall Crashers, which was an offshoot from Operation Ivy in Berkeley, California. If you know old punk stuff, Tim and Matt from Op Ivy started Dance Hall Crashers, then went on to start a band called Downfall that my brother played guitar in, that was basically like Op Ivy, but with Tim singing. Tim back then was called Lint. We all called him Lint, but now he's Tim. And then Tim and Matt went on with Brett joined them, and they became Rancid. So a lot of weird, kind of strange, incestuous history back then. But yes, so in the 90s, I was in a band called Crashers, and we made 5-6 records, toured a whole bunch with No Effects, and did like Warped Tour, played with Alanis Morissette, the Ramones, like we played big festivals with Beck and Pavement and all kinds of bands. It was a weird way to spend my 20s, but we flew around the world a bunch of times, played Japan a bunch of times, Hawaii, Europe, pretty much all Northern Hemisphere except Australia. But and I guess for whatever reason, Kevin Lyman, who's the guy that created the Warped Tour, reached out, which I guess he had been doing on a regular basis, to one of our singers, Elise Rogers, and said like, hey, will you guys come back together to put Warp back together? And I think mostly it's just kind of because we all have kids. Like we all have basically, since the band stopped playing, and this was in like 2000, 2001, it's like we've all had kids that have never actually seen us play with this band unless it was on a video or, a live DVD or something like that. So we just kind of thought our kids are all kind of almost grown and we're getting old. It's a good opportunity for us to kind of do some stuff. And we got a really good offer to kind of play some dates on Warped, and then
kind of play some Warps on dates. Come on, man.
Downplaying yourself.
Yeah. Well, that's what I do.
You're so humble. You're so humble. This man's playing Van's Warped Tour after not putting on a concert in 20 years. More than 20 years.
We're not headlining or anything, but we're a pretty good sized font on the poster. So, it's good. So it should be exciting, and it'll be fun because we've been practicing basically since we kind of decided to do this late last year. So we've been practicing pretty steadily since like December, and we practiced a couple times a month, and had to relearn 30 songs and then like get in shape to get up to play them again, because I've still been playing the whole time, kind of since DHC stopped. I was playing with like jazz groups through UC Jazz. I was playing other kind of random 80s cover bands with my brother. My brother and I have a country band that we've been playing in for 30 years that was still playing out and stuff. He and I are in another punk band called Beneath You. And I'd just be, kind of playing other random stuff here and there. I never really stopped, but, I'm certainly not in shape to play, or I wasn't in shape to play a lot of these fast DHC songs, or to play like, 25 songs in an hour and 10 minutes. You know what I mean?
You're missing the biggest part of this. In front of
what is it?
50,000 people.
Well, so I was told that Warped in Long Beach is going to be 80, right? I don't know how many people are coming to Riot Fest either, but I know Riot Fest.
Is huge too. Riot Fest is huge too. But they have the split. They have a different type of split. But
they do.
Man, I might have to come to Chicago. I might have to come to Chicago.
Yeah, let me know if you want to. I could probably help out.
Gotcha.
I'm going to try to get to Chicago earlier because I'd love to see Blank. There's a bunch of bands that are playing on day one. Yep. I think Camper Band Beethoven's playing on day one too. It's one of my favorite bands ever. Yep. Try to get out there if we can. It just kind of depends on when flights are. September is going to be crazy too, because we're also then playing a show in Anaheim kind of the following weekend. Just still looking at maybe other options. Nothing else is planned right now, but Yeah, so we've got like 5-6 shows over the next couple months, which seems totally civilized. That was one thing when I started doing voiceover. Like my agent in San Francisco, Nate Tico, was kind of like, "So you're in a band, so you're gonna like go on tour next month or something for 6 months?" And I'm like, "Nope, totally done with all of that. Not doing any of that anymore."
Selected dates. Dates.
Yes, only selected weekends when I don't have too much time.
So you guys are playing a couple of warm-up shows. What do you guys? Have you guys started those warm-up shows yet?
So next week are the first 2 warm-up shows at the Great American Music Hall in San Francisco, California, which is we've played there a few times in the past, 20 years ago, 25 years ago.
Might be a little different.
And then, so we're playing. It's actually exactly the same. We're very different.
All good ones.
But the venue is the same. So we're playing there next Friday and Saturday, June 6th and 7th, which was cool because those shows sold out in a couple of hours and they sold out super quickly, which, we were hoping they would, but we really had no idea like what the kind of interest or response was going to be. So yeah, should be massive. Good. I don't know. I'm as anxious as I am excited. I'm just kind of hoping that I don't, my hands don't fall apart.
I hear that.
Like
on
my
those
wrists,
fast ones.
My blisters don't explode. My wrists don't seize from carpal tunnel. Those are the things I worry about.
You're older too. You got to worry about that tennis elbow.
That's right. No, for me, it's the wrist. So for drummers, it's the wrist. I've already had the carpal tunnel release on this wrist.
Yeah.
Towards the end of us playing, the last time, because just too many fast 16th notes, too many fingers, too much quick stuff. So yeah, hopefully these will be easy and fun. That's kind of what I'm hoping for.
It's gonna be fun, but it's gonna be crazy. You guys haven't seen.
Anything.
I'm just pumped. Yeah, nothing at all.
Yeah,
it's just gonna be
no
fun.
idea.
It's gonna be great. I'm pumped for you.
I hope so.
I gotta get up to Chicago. It's historic, and people don't realize how historic. Because Vans Warped Tour is just. It's Vans Warped Tour. It's Vans Warped Tour.
I mean, for us, it was like a huge thing because it was like the first. So it's like that we had done a bunch of kind of one-off radio shows where you play with, huge bands and you meet famous people and you just kind of like play a few dates here and there. But we hadn't done like a big tour that is like almost like a collective where it's like we're all on buses, we're all in vehicles, like either traveling together, shared sort of transport or like, just a big caravan. There's like, a single source of food that everybody has to kind of like rely on, the catering and stuff like that. There's like the climbing wall people that are traveling with you that you kind of get to know, the other bands, then like kind of what they do and how they set up. And we had a regular thing too, like back when we played in like 96 or 97, we were just on like a flatbed semi-trailer was like where we would play. That would be our stage that they just sort of roll out. And then like we would use the provided backline and everything was just beat up and it was just, it was very punk rock. And then we did it in Europe too, which was super cool because anytime so Warped would like tag onto these festivals like Lowlands in the Netherlands and like Reading in the UK. And you would just have all these kind of crazy confluences of bands where it'd be like, oh my God, I'm like standing on stage watching Beck, like one of my favorite artists of all time with Joey Warinker, the drummer, standing like basically next to his drum kit, just sitting there kind of like, giggling at him, watching things happen. And it's just like, you have those little moments that are just, you never think you're going to have them.
Right.
It's just super, super cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's just so weird, because you'd get there, we'd get to like in a burned out army base or we're in, Milan or something like that. And there's like just in a parking lot of a soccer stadium. You try to find the hospitality or anything like that. And it's just like a flat of water bottles, There's like
no ice.
Bathrooms, there's no showers, there's never any ice, air conditioning, ever. God forbid. So it was a trip. But it's, it's fun. It's a lot of work. It's a hassle. Like I have mostly fond memories, but I know that at the time it wasn't luxurious by any stretch. It was fun, but it's one of those things that I'm glad I'm not there now.
Right. Yeah. Should be plenty of air conditioning. There might be a tub of ice. Might be a tub of ice around. Yeah. Something like that.
One tub.
No.
it blows my mind how many of those bands are still out there doing it too. You know, it's like I look at these bands that are out there and I'm like, we used to play with these dudes 25 years ago and they never fucking stopped.
Yep.
It's just like, I can't believe that. They were older than me then. They're definitely older than me now.
Yeah. Go.
And I guess the question is like, we're gonna have to like ask you after Warp Tour, like, is that
we definitely need a post-mortem.
Yeah, like,
Yeah, sure.
How
I'm hard to get a hold.
Right, difficult.
how's that itch? Like, it's like, dude, I want to tour tomorrow. I don't know. I doubt you're gonna say that, but like,
I'm not going to want to tour. Well, I will definitely want to be like, okay, we should take advantage of this and we should go to all these places that are rad, like Japan. And we should go to Hawaii, and we should go to London, and we should go to Berlin, and we should go to Rio, and we should go to Mexico City. We should go to all these places that sound really fun. But I don't know that we're going to do that. I really do feel like it's fun to go. It's fun to kind of like, share it with our kids and experience it. And like, I don't see us like making this a part of everybody's like regular life. You know what I mean? Yeah. I see it being something like every now and then there's an offer. It makes sense. It's really good. It's kind of hard to say no to. It's someplace we want to go, sure. But I don't see us playing, no offense, in Cleveland, Ohio on a Sunday in, February of 2028. You know what I mean? I just don't. No offense to Cleveland. Cleveland's rad. Great shows there.
No,
I just don't see us doing like the circuit or doing a big tour where we do like 60 dates or anything like that. Because, everybody's got jobs and kids and other things that they have to take care of. I can't take that much time away from work or they just won't hire me anymore.
So, Gavin, what I'm hearing is no dance hall crashers in Wichita, Kansas. Dang it.
We played in Lawrence. We never played in Wichita, which is weird because like I went out to Wichita and I was like, this seems like a pretty cool place, right?
Clip it.
Clip it.
No offense.
Yeah, clip it right there.
No, please do use that in your bumper. Wichita seemed pretty damn cool. So I just, I was surprised to actually, that we hadn't played there before. I don't remember us ever playing there. I know we played in Lawrence a few times at the Sidewinder.
Lawrence is more
yeah, the collegey town, more collegey.
I'm guessing probably the Granada, most likely where it was.
Wichita seemed pretty progressive too, but
yeah.
What do I know?
But we got the cotillion and all that, so like, yeah, but no.
The Park City Arena too.
Yeah, so no, but you got me intrigued about the Chicago thing. We're gonna have to talk more off air about that sometime.
Direct flights. We'll just call Carlos and stay on the ranch.
Yeah, probably score tickets. It depends on how many guests we actually get. Yeah. But usually we do, at the very least, we may even be able to at least like buy tickets, or like we can like work out something where you are able to buy tickets if there isn't like a guest list space. I don't know how any of that works. And that's in September.
We'll figure it out.
So worried about June.
You guys have that first one's gonna knock some dust off, and it's gonna be interesting to see how you feel about it.
I don't know. I'm hoping that all the dust is kind of knocked off, and it's like the first one is just fun. But we'll see. It depends on what goes wrong.
That's the big issue for sure. So one other gigantic question, and then I think we'll let you go. What is the biggest thing you're looking forward to this summer besides getting the band back together next week?
This is a no-brainer if you know me at all. Mm-hmm. I'm always looking the most forward to how my garden does and how the tomatoes do and how the peppers do. I'm an avid home gardener. It's like I'm planting and starting seeds in December, January. For me, it's like it's kind of what I live for. It's so much fun. And everything's doing really well right now. It's very hot. But I'm just hoping that even despite the fact that I may not be home as often, I'm hoping that, the time that I am here, I'm able to harvest everything and that the garden does well.
Absolutely.
Always. That's the thing I'm always looking most forward to in the summer.
Absolutely. I knew that's why
It's an easy.
It's a nice little softball to wrap everything up for you. But Gavin,
tons of weird voiceover stuff that's happening too. I can never talk about any of it, but there have been a bunch of really cool projects that I don't know if I'll be able to announce or if I'll have to keep it a secret forever. But I'm hoping that there's stuff coming.
As always, just keep us posted. We love hearing your work.
Thank you
for sure. All right, Adrian, wrap us up, buddy.
I will, but first I need to say, Gavin left out something that he's looking forward to this summer, and that's mailing out a PS4.
He's gonna sneak it into every single one.
And so with that said,
we're not doing anything.
So with that said, it's been great, Gavin.
Yeah, I know. It'll be a PS6 by the time it
actually happens.
But before I say that, what I always say to end you nerds with this, I have to once again emphasize that this is not the first time we've had Gavin on the channel. So be sure to check out his first appearance on the channel, as well as all the other awesome interviews we have done to Carlos Azagari, to David Nakayama, all these really cool people that we've got a chance to join the nerd community that we are starting to consider friends. So without that to be said, I have to say this, Brandon, because I say it every episode, and that is keep it nerdy.
All right, guys. Thanks for being here. Thanks again, Gavin.